All right, I'll call this meeting to order. We will start with the consent agenda. All the following items which concern reports and items of a routine nature normally approved at AHA meetings will be approved by one vote unless any trustee desires to have a separate vote on any or all of these items. The consent agenda consists of the discussion, consideration, and action on the following items. Minutes of the Finance Committee meeting on September 16, 2014. Minutes of the monthly trustee meeting on September 16, 2014. And a check report September 8, 2014 through October 7, 2014.
I would like to discuss the Finance Committee meeting.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm not real clear. When we approve the minutes of the meeting, are we approving the actions taken during those minutes? Or are we approving just the fact that that's what occurred during the minutes? Or what's...
It's what occurred at that meeting.
That's what occurred during the meeting.
Whether you agree with them or not, your opinion on it, it's just what occurred at that meeting.
Okay. Then, I guess I just wanted to make sure that I understood that that's what we're doing.
Okay.
It's only been a couple of years.
Roll call vote, please.
Have we had a motion on the
No, I know we need a motion, I guess, to approve.
Mr. Chairman,
Sorry.
we have cards up for.
Yeah, I see. I don't have
I don't
one.
think he has one.
Share one.
There.
I'll entertain a motion then. Glad you're here, Rick.
Thank you.
I move we approve the consent agenda. Second.
We have a motion by Scott Brown, a second by Steve Knox, to approve the consent agenda as it is presented. Roll call vote, please.
Brown,
Yes.
Klein,
Yes.
Gaspard,
Yes.
Kinsey,
Yes.
Knox,
Yes.
Sonny. Yes.
The next item is the CEO's report. Candace?
Okay. So we've been working really hard on getting the new urgent care clinic up and going, and right now we're just kind of sitting on go waiting for the approval from the State Department of Health. It requires that we have their blessing to repurpose that space, the specialty clinic space, for use as an urgent care, and as of today I still have not gotten that approval, so we'll still be working on getting that. I am not very hopeful that we're going to meet that November 3rd goal. So we'll just keep trying. The floor has started follow-up phone calls for inpatients, and they're going to make sure that the patients are understanding their discharge instructions to help that transition from discharge to home. Understanding their discharge instructions, their medications, etc. During the month of August, our volunteers logged 329 hours. We're also glad to see Lynn Heasley back. Lynn had been out for a while, and it was nice to drive up this morning and see his smiling face. He is a lot of help around here. Skipping on down to EHR status report, we have not yet attested for meaningful use. Most likely will probably be next week. We're having some issues with one of our reports. All of the data is there, it's just not pulling down correctly to the report, and we want to make sure that that does that before we attest. So most likely will be next week before we get that done. You can see all the activities that Janet has been working on through marketing. Several things have been done. Patient satisfaction, ER and the inpatient is attached in the back. I have been working with Pat through HIM to look at, to make sure that the physicians are getting their documentation, dates, times, signatures. More than anything is getting the discharge summaries on the chart. H&Ps are to be on the chart within 24 hours of admission. Discharge summaries are due within 30 days of discharge. So we had an issue with that during survey, and so we're monitoring that and trying to encourage the physicians to get that done. Flu shots, it's that time of year, being offered to employees and patients. Only other thing that I've got, we are actively recruiting for a nurse practitioner, PA, in the urgent care clinic. I do have a couple of leads from a company, maybe 3 leads. And then we are recruiting for a family practitioner as well. So I haven't gotten anything from any companies on that. I did get a call this weekend from a physician that I tried to contact last year, and he was busy. He was full as far as filling in the ER, but he happened to call this weekend and is interested in doing some weekend shifts for us when we need coverage. And it was funny. I was at my mom and dad's, and I had ran up on the hill to try to get cell phone service so that I could talk to him. And he called because he wouldn't answer the phone from the landline I was calling from, because it was a 918 area code, and I'm sure he was like, whatever. But so he called and talked to my mom while I was gone, and I hadn't told her what I was doing, so she's like, what? And so he told her why he was calling. She goes, I bet, yeah. She said, you have the right number. So anyway, come to find out, his dad used to be a physician in Fairfax and Pawnee, and my parents used to go to him. So that was kind of funny. So anyway, yeah. So hopefully we can get him to cover some shifts for us when needed and not have to use a locums agency. But I also told him that we were recruiting and asked him if that would be anything he would be interested in talking about. So he said he would. So hopefully we'll get to talk soon about that. And
Did you say we had used him?
I tried to last year,
Oh.
and he was busy. His schedule was full, and so he wasn't able to do it to cover for us. But apparently he remembered, and now that his schedule has kind of opened up, he called over because he likes to work in small rural hospitals. So anyway, that was kind of neat. That's all I have.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Candace? Okay. If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the CEO's report.
I move that we approve the Share Medical Center written report to include hospital, hospice, and convalescent home quality measures, HCAPS core measures for October 21st, 2014.
Second.
We're sharing books.
I have a motion by Dr. Kinsey, a second by Ayla Simon, to approve the Share Medical Center written report to include hospital, hospice, and convalescent home quality measures, HCAPS, core measures for October 21st, 2014. Roll call vote, please.
Brown,
Yes.
Klein,
Yes.
Casper,
Yes.
Kinsey,
Yes.
Knox,
Yes.
Simon. Yes.
Oh, you want me to do the other one?
You got one more on.
Sorry. I guess I was waiting for you to preface it. All right. This next item, I'm going to have Kevin go into detail about it, but this is through our current vendor of our retirement plan, which is OMRF. This is basically to take that. Right now, it's a mandatory 2% contribution, and we are going to change that to 0.
Right. And the reason we're doing that is we're going to go to a 457 plan
And what that allows is all of our employees to let it to be voluntary, plus they can contribute more than 2% of their salary back for retirement. So it's going to be a better vehicle for employees to save for the retirement. Plus, if there are some employees that do not wish to participate, they can also opt out of it. So what this agreement's just stating is that we're going to go from a 2% mandatory contribution to a 0%. So.
Is that somewhere in here?
The resolution.
The resolution, no.
No.
Do you have a copy?
I have
of
a
it?
copy of it, yeah, here.
And that's the only change.
The
is
only change.
We go from 2%
Percent
mandatory to
to
0%
0%.
mandatory, and basically that kills that plan.
Kills that, yeah, effective December 1st.
And then the new plan picks
Goes
up
in
the same
December
rate.
1st, right, yeah. Lets the employees.
Now, can they roll their old over into the 457?
They have to roll into an IRA, I think
Yeah.
is what you have to do. So, or they can leave it right there. So,
Was there any discussions with different employee groups? Have they talked about it? Any
yeah,
feedback?
I talked, OMRF had referred me to another company that we looked at, and we also looked at a company that Jason had as well. And looking at the prices and stuff, Jason was the best bidder for that project.
So this resolution also is the agreement to go to a different product?
No, this is not. This agreement here is not to go to a different product. This is just to make the OMRF go to a 0%. It's the benefits and stuff should. I mean, I don't know. Didn't think it had to come to the board to go to a 457 plan because it's just like any health insurance and stuff like that. It's just a benefit we decide to offer.
Mm-hmm.
So this is to undo the resolution that we had previously agreed to with the OMRF for the 2%. This makes that not mandatory 2%.
It unties our hands.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
with
So-
OMRF.
I don't know if this is the right point to talk about this, but I mean, I know that a lot of employees have talked to me and said that they really did appreciate the talks about the retirement plan and thought that it was really cool to have a retirement plan, and many of them had never heard or understood anything about retirement plans before, and Jason's talk was very very professional, and they at least got like a first glimpse into the whole idea of saving for retirement and pre-tax retirement plans and that sort of thing. But that being said, I'm kind of concerned that by choosing the AXA plan through Primerica without kind of a public vetting of what it is that we did, how we chose that plan, what the other options were, that we create an appearance of favoritism. From the minutes of the Finance Committee meeting, it looks like there was kind of the thought came up, hey, this would be a good idea. Maybe there's a deadline to make a fast decision. But in doing so, we make it look like the hospital authority's impartiality was maybe not completely impartial. So even if this plan is the best one, it seems to me, because of the way this happened, that it could look like to outsiders looking at what's happened here. And actually, even a couple of employees of the hospital said, well, it seems a little odd that that it's Jason's company that's running the show now. Even if it's better, it somehow doesn't seem quite right because it wasn't out in the open how this came about and how things were chosen. So it seems to me that if we want to really, especially if we want to go ahead with this, and like I said, it seems like a lot of people really feel like going to a mutual fund plan for, I can never remember the number, plan is a great idea, that we should be a little more transparent in our interactions and really
I felt like we had done that.
really make it obvious. I mean, it's not listed as a separate item on the agenda. I mean, I don't know. It just felt a little. I didn't feel like I understood what was happening until I walked in here and saw Jason in front of the meeting, and so.
I can probably address some of that as a member of the Finance Committee. There's certain things that require board approval. There's certain things that don't, that are just a matter of everyday business. This falls into that category in that it's not required to be bought before the board to have a board vote on it. It wasn't a rushed decision. We talked about it for at least a couple months.
3 months.
3 months. We looked at other plans. The things that I remember, I don't have my notes in front of me, but one of the things that really appealed to us was the fact that Jason was local and would be able to address questions or problems that might come up with that plan, where no one else that I'm aware of would be local. Any other company would have someone in Alva ready to address problems or questions that might come up. Also, I think there was a lower cost with Jason's plan than there was the other plan we were looking at. We discussed, the appearance of maybe self-dealing or favoritism by dealing with Jason. I think financially, Jason's going to benefit very little from this, and Jason can probably address that more than I can.
Yeah, and Kevin we have to sign a statement on any of that as to how much money that we make. And I actually addressed that in the meetings. I know you came in late to the meeting that you were there or after I'd started, but I addressed that at the beginning of those and this whole issue that you're discussing. I put my bid in before they got any other bids because I didn't want it to be that I got to see a bid before somebody else could do it. The other part, and I did mine a month before they got anybody else's. And I was able, because of my relationship with AXA and my relationship here, I was able to cut all the fees out. So the fees to the hospital are zero, which ultimately helps all the employees save money. The other part is yes, I did want to do it because this is what I do know. I know how these plans go, and for the most part, everybody is handed a packet of information. You have one big group meeting, and good luck with your retirement. I have actually sat down with every single employee that has wanted to do it so far, and we got other meetings to go, and sit down with them one-on-one to discuss a plan for them and their goals that nobody else would have provided. I'm pretty certain of that. Could somebody have said yes, that's what they would have done? Yes. But because of the amount of money that is in these type of plans, most people won't do it because it's not the time value of money. It would not make sense to do it. But I won't do business that way, and especially if it's somebody like this that's close to me.
I remember we even questioned Jason. Well, Jason, why would you want to do this? You're not going to benefit from it. And his response was exactly what you would want to hear. He's doing it because of his compassion for this hospital and the people that work here. He's willing to take that time that other people probably wouldn't be interested in because they have no affiliation with this hospital. So I think it's kind of the opposite of what it might appear at first glance. We're actually getting more out of Jason than we would have otherwise. For less money.
And I know I'm an old timer, but years ago, we also had another board member that offered tax annuities, savings annuities for retirement, which I still belong to, and it wasn't the only thing that was available, but at that time there wasn't anything available, and I can just say there's 3 or 4 options. The employees don't have to go with this option. They can stay where they're at, or they can roll it into an IRA. So I think it's still the option of the employee, and we have in the past utilized a board member's business for, and it's not about that, I don't think. I think it's more about what's available for the employees.
One of the things we looked at was there was a lot of dissatisfaction with the current plan for a couple of reasons. One was it was mandatory. Some people, they're not at a point where they're ready to fund their retirement. That, paycheck's more important. While it might be in their best interest to fund their retirement, they need the cash now for whatever reason. Under this plan, they can do that. They don't have to participate. The old plan, it was mandatory participation. It was capped at 2%. With this new plan, you can do more than that. And correct me if I say anything wrong, because I'm just going through the recollection. But this new plan, you can put more into retirement than you could under the old plan. And that was a real common complaint from people that, wow, my retirement's not doing anything. It doesn't hardly grow. And I worked for 30 years, I retire, I don't have anything. So we're trying to set people up to have some options, and also, if they want to properly fund their retirement, so when they do retire, they'll have a lot more money to work with.
And it helps us
I'm
better
gonna-
recruiting. I mean,
May I say, I kind of feel like that the question was a question of procedure and practice, not necessarily intent, and I believe that there is a quality intent involved. The item on our agenda is to amend a resolution that just takes it from a percent set to a no percent set. If we act on that, we are not necessarily acting on adopting any new policies or any new agreements or anything of that sort. However, I do think that with this coming to light the way it is, it would be prudent to have the additional bids and the information brought before this board, since it's here before us, to just say, here's what we think of it, and move on. But tonight, what we're being asked to consider is changing it from a 2 to a 0. And question of intent or purpose or all of that, I don't know that that's what we're here to ask or answer here tonight.
Right, it's not exactly for this question. Like I said, it might not be the exact right time, nor am I really questioning whether it's a good idea or not. Merely the presentation of the idea might not come across as us doing the best job as we can. I think we can do a better job presenting the idea to the community that this is the best idea, that we've done our homework and that it is a fair and impartial decision. I'm not sure that we've done a great job of presenting that case.
And that's where, I'm not sure that I disagree with that opinion myself, in that, if we're looking at reducing this to a 0, that's affecting one thing. If we're going to put into effect something differently, that we bring that back at the next meeting to put it into effect. Where the public and all of us have an agenda item to see, here's what we're looking at, and we're going to consider adopting this new policy, then, I believe wholeheartedly that our finance committee looked at it, understood it, and knew what was in the best interest of the employees at Share Medical Center, and that they're not recommending a decision otherwise. But bringing it back before the body here that is now being asked to act in some way with it, to me, should be a part of our due diligence as a board to have that brought before us to look at it. But for tonight's approval, I don't see that has any today.
But Rick, is this properly written so that we can discern that all we're approving is just the modification?
As the agreement says, yes.
Which is here, and that's all it says.
This isn't about putting in place any different type of plan or procuring any specific services for staff.
That's what it says.
Can we add anything to a motion other than what's listed in this agenda? Can we mention removing the 2% mandatory, that's what we're doing?
Well, that is what the actual amendment, the resolution is.
Change the plan, reduce it to 0.
Is there any other discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion that we approve the amendment to the resolution and joinder agreement for the defined contribution plan for the Alva Hospital Authority, DBA Share Medical Center. The change to the plan is to reduce the employee GPU contribution to 0% from 2%.
Second.
We have a motion to approve the resolution and joinder agreement for the defined contribution plan for the Alva Hospital Authority DBA Share Medical Center. A motion by Scott Brown, a second by Dr. Kinsey to do that. About that. Roll call vote.
Brown.
Yes.
Klein.
Yes.
Casper.
Yes.
Kinsey.
Yes.
Knox.
Yes.
Sanderson.
Yes.
Simon.
Yes.
All right. Candace, thank you. Next is the CFO's report.
Sure. The
Kevin?
gross patient revenue for the month totaled $1,647,378. It was a decrease of $18,399 compared to the prior month. The hospital seen a decrease of $27,280 from the prior month. Nursing home, $601. Actually, the homestead increased their revenue by $9,482. Total patient days were 79 in September compared to 85 in August. Hospice days were 120 in September compared to 140 in August. And clinic visits climbed up to 903 compared to 839 in August. Nursing home average daily census was 52.6 compared to 50.5 in August. Hospital contractuals, less bad debts, and charity care were 48.9% for September. We wrote off $114,174 to a collection agency. Operating expense, excluding salaries, benefits, and depreciation for September, totaled $388,954, or an increase of $78.70 compared to the prior month. Salary and wages for September totaled $482,666. It was an increase of $5,891 compared to the prior month. We had a net operating loss for September of $138,947, but with sales tax and contributions, we actually had a net income from all operations of $10,967. Accounts receivable, we've seen a small increase there of $4,238. We went, actually, AR decreased by 1.2 days. It went from 73.6 to 72.4 gross days. And net days actually decreased as well from 61.9 to 61.6. Payables at the end of September, we owed $823,246. This represented 65.2 days of operating expense, excluding salaries and wages. There's a couple of items I want to talk to you about. It's on the, if you'll turn over to page 5, the hospital's income statement. You'll notice that the utilities expense is actually a negative $1,165. And the reason for that is we are trying to allocate and get everything back into which area actually incurs the expenses. So for the first 3 months, we had not, or the first 2 months, July and August, we had not, the nursing home has not had any expenses for utilities. They've not had utility expense forever on the income statement. So we're trying to make every area responsible for what their actual expenses are. So I reallocated the nursing home's expenses for utilities, and you're going to see a large increase there in the nursing home utility costs, but we also seen a decrease because I was reallocating that as well. So if you'll, that's that page. If you turn over to page 7, you'll notice that's the nursing home. You'll notice that the utilities there is $26,947. That is 3 months worth of utility bills. So roughly it takes about $9,000 a month for utilities at the nursing home. Like I said, we're just trying to get where we understand each of our business lines of where the actual expense and stuff is at. So I just wanted to point that out to you. The other area is back on page 11. The one good thing that is happening is our unbilled actually went down from $512,000 down to $368,000. That's with the physicians getting their charts done, and we're able to get those bills out and stuff. And that also will help improve our cash flow. So I just wanted to, that's another positive thing that happened. You can see the last 2 months before that was almost $500,000 a month of unbilled. So that should help improve cash flow in the upcoming month. Really, the rest of them is just graphs that are back there, pages 15 through 19. Like I said earlier in my report, the big increase was in clinic visits. We went over 900 clinic visits for the month, which is a really good thing. So the clinics are getting busier and busier as we keep moving forward with the extra providers, which we would hope to see happen. So, and I'm willing to answer any questions you might have on any of the income statements or anything other than that. So.
Looks like Dr. Kinsey's been busy, which we already knew.
Lindsay's been really picking up speed too.
Good.
Gwen just does whatever we ask of her, so it's been really nice. Of course, I lost my nurse, and then our receptionist is leaving, who's been there for 3 years.
Really? Are there any other questions for Kevin? If not, thank you, Kevin. Next is the Medical Staff Executive Committee, Chief of Staff, Dr. Elizabeth Kinsey.
All right, as part of our new reporting, we'll again just look at our agenda from last month, or from this month's meeting, as our minutes aren't available. Could go through the agenda from the last month's meeting, or the minutes from the last month's meeting, if you guys find that that would be more helpful, but it would kind of be a whole month out of date, so might not be very helpful. Essentially, we had a short meeting this month, just making one reappointment to the courtesy staff, approving some changes to the emergency department policy and procedures, and then did an annual review of the committee directors. None of those were changed. There's one small change, but other than that, then we just had some reports from committees, and that was the end of our meeting. So not much there. In the credentialing committee, we voted to reappoint to courtesy staff Ricky Reeves. So I move that we reappoint to courtesy staff Dr. Ricky Reeves in pathology.
Second.
We have a motion by Dr. Kinsey, a second by Terry Klein to reappoint to courtesy staff Ricky Reeves, MD, pathology. Roll call vote, please.
Brown,
Yes.
Klein,
Yes.
Gasper,
Yes.
Kinsey,
Yes.
Knox,
Yes.
Sanderson,
Yes.
Simon.
Yes.
And then in the emergency department policies and procedures, there was a small change that was made just to clarify that there would always be a licensed medical provider in the emergency room during 24/7. So whoever was on call would actually be in the hospital on call. And so I move that we also approve that through here. And change the emergency department policy and procedure.
Second.
Is that all you're asking, if I understand the
I'm-
motion, to approve of the
It's just the
emergency room
change, right?
policies and procedures?
Here's a list of all that was,
Was there more than just the one change? Sorry, I thought there was just the one change. I have a short memory. It was a week ago. There were several changes. I'll read them to you, sorry. The changes included reporting of adverse drug reactions and failed equipment and the handling of culture reports. And then also revisions to how we write in the emergency department logbook when people choose to leave the emergency room, what we used to call against medical advice. There's a new term for that, politically correct term. The blanket and fluid warmer instructions, guidelines were updated. The emergency department staffing provider was corrected. Apparently that's the only one I remembered. The emergency department staffing for nursing was changed to state that the RN was going to be there at all times, with the ER tech and registration clerk only at a designated time. The laryngoscope blade and handle cleaning was also changed because that will not, complete cleaning will not be done in the emergency room. There was an update of the moderate sedation guidelines to include current guidelines and an inclusion of a new form that reflects current guidelines. There was an update of the scope of service, including the updated staffing levels and qualifications required for certain procedures, and an acknowledgement of the emergency room policy for mental status exam screening protocols and a form that's needed for that. Then, in order to avoid too many changes to the emergency department policy and procedure manual, there were diagnosis-based protocols that were part of that. So like if someone had a heart attack, that diagnosis procedure was in the emergency department manual. We have taken those procedures out so that we can update them separately and not have them part of the emergency manual. Just remember that.
Okay. I think what you're approving is the whole policies, those changes included. And so that's, I think that's the motion. I assume that was your motion.
So-
Second.
Yes.
Sounds good to me.
That's what we're doing.
Is that, that's what the agenda item is, and I believe that
The
would
emergency
incorporate
department
all the
policies
changes.
and procedures
Okay. Very good.
as amended.
That's fine.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion by Dr. Kinsey, a second by Terry Klein, to approve the emergency department policies and procedures. Roll call vote, please.
Yes.
Klein.
Yes.
Astor.
Yes.
Kinsey.
Yes.
Knox.
Yes.
Sanderson. Yes. Simon. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Kinsey. Next is the quality assurance process improvement. One Miss Pat Knight.
Okay. We started, as I talked a little bit last month, on a new program here called SQSS, and don't ask me what those initials are, but it's a complete quality program where you put information and you pick out tasks that you need to do for your department. It might be keeping the refrigerator temperature the same, or checking it, and then when it's out of compliance, then you notify the maintenance to come fix it. I mean, there's all kinds of things that you can do. So in your booklet, it's kind of hard to look and see which is red and which is orange. I guess you can see okay. But right now, this doesn't look doing a whole lot because there's not a lot of green. But red at this point is not a bad thing because we're just kind of getting started with the program, and people have their own way of doing these things. And you know how people are about change. Maybe if we don't change, it'll go away. So that's kind of the process that we're going through right now, and hopefully we can get this turned around by January. You'll see more green every time I come. We have right now 1,010 tasks that are actually in the system that people are working on. And,
She has hospitals that have 10,000 things in there.
yeah.
The majority of the things that we put into this is to help us keep up with survey processes and things that we're required to do. It helps us stay on track of those things.
So that's kind of, this program is going to be great when we have surveyors come, that all they have to do is look at the program and say, oh, you're great here, you're doing here. As long as we have the task in there and we're participating in the program, it'll be great. But it's going to be kind of slow getting started. Everyone's been trained. And some of these, like the nursing home doesn't have it, so it actually, the NA does mean not applicable. And then, I don't know what the employee security access is, but Homestead does not have this program either. Now, hospice should be involved in this, but they have not put any task in yet. IT does have a task in there now, but it doesn't show that their task is that it's being done. So they do have a task in. We also have safety, which we do not have any task in there for safety yet, so we're really going to have to get busy on that. Also, human resources. I don't think that's on you guys' list, because that's one thing I noticed wasn't on there after these were handed out. So they are on there now. And employee health. So those will be very important areas that we get started on. But that's kind of what you'll see each month, and that's our compliance. This is the compliance of all the tasks that we're doing. So, anybody have any questions? We'll be moving on to quality improvement. This is actually quality assurance right now. We'll be moving on to quality improvement, which is when we have a task or something that we're doing in our department that is pretty bumpy. It's not working real good. We need to go back and look at how we can improve it. So that's kind of what a quality improvement is. No questions?
Any questions for Pat? No? Pat, thank you.
You're so welcome.
Next, EHR report. Do we have anything to report in addition there?
I don't have anything additional.
Okay. Next, your convalescent home report. Rita?
Let's see, last month, I believe we had 170 skilled days, which was up. I believe the month before that was 120. Kevin would know those figures better than me, but I think that's what I remember. We had several residents that requested to go to Canton to go gambling, and that went well. We spent probably an afternoon, and I think everybody had fun, and I kept up with everybody as much as I could. And I told them they didn't spend a lot. Right
So
now,
let's just clarify something. If you win money,
it goes to share medicine.
that's right. I just want to make that clear.
I'll bring it as soon as I get it. Anyway, right now, and Janet, thank goodness for Janet, she has been over to the nursing home for the last couple of days, taking pictures of all the pumpkins that the residents are decorating, and we're putting them on Facebook. And I hope people will vote for whatever they'd like to see win. We've got all kinds of little prizes for them, so. And they're getting excited for Halloween. We've got a lot of monsters that sing and dance, and if you open the door, it's probably going to scare you to death, but all right. We had a new admission today. We had somebody that was skilled that went home today, and those are always successes. We want them to go home if they're able to go home. And I think that's it.
All right. Any questions for Rita? No? Thank you. Appreciate it. Kelly, the homestead report.
For the month of September, we had a paid occupancy of 82.3%. We have 9 apartments available to rent, and we have 25 open inquiries for people that still haven't made a decision, yes or no, it's time to move or not move. So as long as the available apartments are less than the open inquiries, I feel pretty good about the direction we're going. Most everything else you can read in my written report. I wanted to bring up a couple of things that came up in resident council after this report was prepared. One is that Dr. Kinsey mentioned losing a couple of her staff. We've had some positions that have been difficult to fill as well. One of those has been a housekeeper position where we've had a few people in a position, but mostly we've been without for the last 3 months. We have one housekeeper that's been taking care of the entire facility. We had a number of residents, just to make sure in case you're hearing things, had a number of residents voice concern that this one person was being overworked. And I stay in close communication to make sure she's doing all right. She does a fabulous job, and all the residents would agree. But with their concerns, and as our discussion went last month, we opted to, or we gave residents who so choose to volunteer the opportunity to go to every other week housekeeping services. Of that, we had 7 residents out of our 41 apartments went from their regular schedule to an every other week schedule. So it wasn't a significant number of people take advantage of that, but I want you to know that we are still meeting the needs of the people at the homestead. There's other things that we're doing to try and make it easier for housekeeping to keep up. We have put new carpet and tile flooring into 14 apartments. Obviously, newer things are easier to keep looking well, and so that's made it easier on the housekeeping staff.
And you're working on new flooring in the main?
We're working on new flooring. Hopefully by tomorrow we have, that was in the budget for the city, the capital budget for the city. So hopefully by tomorrow we have a estimate approved and we can move forward with new flooring for the dining room and the main lobby. Down each hallway until the fire doors start. There's a transition in the carpet color at that point, so where that transition occurs is where we'll stop the new flooring. But it's going to be a major project, one that I hope we get started here pretty quick. We do have on the calendar of things going on, the electric gold tour of homes is scheduled to come to the homestead this year, so I'm excited about that and hoping that we have floors. But we are, the other thing at Resident Council I wanted to mention is up until this point, since we started with, work with Carson's, they've really had a lot of suggestions for the food management service. And this month, really, it was kind of, we're happy. Keep doing what you're doing. Some of the things that Carson's doesn't hear very often, was one of the things they brought up is that they want more casseroles on the special list. So once a week there's going to be a casserole on the specials list. So those employees that start wondering why is there a casserole on the specials list, that's why. They like the choices, the service is doing well. The kitchen is the other area where we're having difficulty with staffing. So that said, it's Carson's leadership is working well with our leadership to, I guess, bring about the changes that need to happen in order to move forward. So that's the homestead report, if anybody has any questions.
And the struggles that he has with staffing, we have here as well. Housekeeping is constantly, I mean, we've been short housekeeping for 2 years probably. Yeah. So it's tough to staff that.
And I'll say, it's, the applicants that we get, they're not declining our offer because of pay, because we don't even talk about pay before they decline the offer. So it's not
Many times I can't pass the fingerprint.
or drug test or, it's
They get screened out.
very discouraging.
So the homestead's going to be part of the tour of homes this Christmas?
It is.
That's exciting. That'll be a good way to get people
I think
out.
it'll be really good for the homestead community as well as the entire community to see what a gym they have out there,
Yeah.
especially if we get the floors done.
Yeah. Well, you got a little time left.
Yeah, we got a little time.
All right. Well, Kelly, you can keep the floor with the foundation. Do you have a foundation report?
I do.
Report.
The foundation board met a week ago.
Last week.
Yeah, a week ago Thursday. That doesn't sound right. 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Sorry. Second Thursday. And we spend a majority of our time discussing really the future of our foundation and our medical center and our plans the board approved plans to move forward with a long-term investment policy and strategy where we are currently out with a request for proposals from investment firms to help us reach a goal of by 2025 we're hoping to establish a sort of endowment, we're calling it the Heritage Society, by which people will leave their planned gifts, they leave us in their will and their estate documents to a total amount of an adequate amount to achieve a $1 million a year investment income. It's a significant undertaking. We're hoping that we get back some good, bids from the investment firms. We have approximately $100,000 that we can invest initially, and the whole idea is that this money, you never touch the principal. You keep building on the investment until it gets to the point where the investment revenue is something that can sustain a significant portion of operating expenses back, or even capital expenses back into the medical center. We will review proposals in January, and we will be introducing in the near future also the opportunity of the Heritage Society, where anybody that has identified Share Medical Center Foundation in their will and estate documents can let us know. We don't care how much. Just let us know what that is, and you can become a member of the Heritage Society. The Heritage Society funds are what we will really, promote in order to reach that level of principal that it's going to take to have the investment revenue that we need. We're taking a step from being a raise money for projects to a secure and protect resources for the future. So it's kind of exciting. It's a new chapter for our foundation, and we're excited about it. We look forward to seeing what kind of proposals we get. But we also, I want to make sure everybody knows that the Donor Appreciation Dinner will be November 13th. It will be held at NWOSU in the Ranger Room at 6 o'clock. We'll have a meal, a brief presentation, and really just an opportunity for us to communicate with our donors what's been going on, what's coming up, and of course our appreciation for all that they do for our medical center and our community through their donations. And then the only other thing I want to report from the foundation is that we did receive a $10,000 anonymous gift in September. That gift was restricted for the purpose of two different projects on the nursing floor, one being an ice and water machine and the other being a room refurbishment. So we're excited to have that gift and be putting it to work. So I think if you go to Facebook, you can see some pictures.
Okay. Any questions for Kelly? If not, Kelly, thank you. Next, Bridget, St. Anthony's report.
I think most of y'all know that we had our ceremony with St. Mary's to officially indoctrinate them into our affiliate network. So it was a nice ceremony. They supported our affiliate regular meeting that we had, so that was nice as well. Get an opportunity to meet some of their other staff members as well. So we're looking forward to developing what we've been successful with in our network, which is our access center and our referral line and some things that have taken us years to kind of get to a perfection level. So we'll be sharing those opportunities with them, and then vice versa, we have some things that they can share with us. So we look forward to developing that relationship with them. The other thing is one of the things for 2015 that I personally want to work on is we have a residency program at St. Anthony's, and I want to be sure that the affiliates are more involved in that residency program. So right now we're asking just the Tier 1 affiliates to submit practice opportunities and start getting those in front of the residents, and then have some events throughout the year so that there's some opportunities to kind of meet them and keep the hospitals in mind. So physician recruitment is such a difficult task right now. Certainly to get quality physicians is becoming harder and harder. So we certainly want to help as much as we can on a physician recruitment standpoint.
Is that just for physicians, or is it mid-level?
We don't have any mid-levels. It's strictly family practice. Now, some of them will go into emergency medicine, but it's strictly family practice residency. So, and we have first, second, third year residents. So we want to, if we start now with our first year group, then hopefully there'll be some opportunities in there. We still, a lot of them, sometimes will settle down into the hospitalist programs, into emergency rooms, but they're, even if you can get 2 or 3 interested in the rural department, then I feel like we'll be successful in that. So we want to try to keep the opportunities. If there's an opportunity to get them out here to see the facilities and meet some of the people, and really want to try to work on developing that relationship over the next couple of years. So, and then Ebola. I think we're all probably tired of hearing about that, but it is certainly, yeah. So we have tried to share some information as our system is developing and push that down to the affiliate networks to use or not use, and just so that you have references. We also started Monday a daily letter, so I will probably push that down to y'all. It's just a couple of the hot topics. I think we did some type of internet within our organization, so there's frequently asked questions that are pushed out there, so we'll start sharing those as well, so in case anybody, because I know it kind of goes in waves. I think people are, have moments really fearful, worried about lots of different things, and so we just want to keep that communication moving until we feel like, we're to the end of that. I know that the equipment, the PPE, to protect our employees has been a question, and they've changed the criteria for that on a regular basis, which we as a system can absorb that, but the small rural hospitals can't. So we're certainly hoping along the way that they go with their hubs and work out some way to do that, because all hospitals, especially rural hospitals, can't continue to buy the PPE over and over and over again, and we're not real thrilled about it ourselves, but we'll do what we need to do. So there may be some opportunities to do some sharing in that aspect as well. So we'll help as much as we can on the Ebola front. We do have our summit coming up this Friday, so we've been working on that for the last couple of months. We're excited about that. It has the executive track, and then there's a physician track. I understand that you and Dr. Kinsey are going to attend, so that's great. We appreciate that. And it's an opportunity for the physicians to get some CME as well. Then we do have several new physicians. I brought some of the cards. Some of them are general care, but we have been working on getting some GI, which one of the physicians does the ERCPs, which I certainly can't go to talk about that, but evidently we have a lack of people who want to do that in the state, so that's outlined kind of on the card as well. And then rheumatology, I know, is something that has been difficult for referrals, and I stuck some cards in here as well. I think this is something we've got to work on in 2015 as well. I think everybody's got the Access Center down, understands it completely. I think we fell a little bit on a referral line because we do guarantee an appointment within 5 days on the referral line. However, I think a lot of people are conditioned to call in the office itself. So I think that's something we can really work on. I think it'll be a good patient satisfier this coming up here. So Candace will have those if anybody's interested in those as well. And then the Healthplex in Mustang is open on December 11th. So we're excited if y'all happen to be coming through there, just kind of edge off and take a look at it. It's a nice big facility. It's a standalone ER, just like the rest of them are, and that we've been building in our hubs. So that's all I have. Do you have a
So
question?
one thing, she
Yeah.
reminded me about the whole Ebola stuff.
Uh-huh.
So we did implement the Ebola procedures as far as made us do it a little sooner than we were ready. We've got a little project going on to lock down our ER for campus security. Actually, when the surveyors were here back in May, they helped us figure out how to do it appropriately. And so we did order the locks. They have been on back order since, I don't know, at least the 1st of July. Anyway, the Ebola thing kind of forced us to do it a little quicker than what we were expecting to do it. The locks aren't in yet, but we did go ahead and lock down the ER. And through the use of a phone and cameras, the staff is able to accomplish that. So we are using the ER as it was intended when it was built. We never had the flow down correctly. When Connie was here back a few months ago, she explained to me how it was supposed to work. We don't have the appropriate signage up to accomplish that at this point completely, but we've got kind of a short-term fix for it. But we did, if you have a chance, if you're parked up there or you're up there one of these days, go take a look at it. The South Bay where the ambulance pulls in, we covered that, we used that wrap that you can see through from the inside. So when you look at when you're coming into the ER bay, it tells you if you're, walk-in traffic, it tells you this is for ambulance only, go around the corner to the ER main entrance. And we've got the outside doors are not wrapped. You come in those doors, and that's where when you enter, there's a phone on the wall right here, and that wrap on that door tells you what to do. It tells you to pick up the phone, and then when you pick that phone up, it immediately rings to the ER nurse's station, and they pick up the phone. And right now, they ask you the Ebola questions. So we're working on that. It's working well enough for now.
Well, it's good that y'all have a plan. I mean, that's nice to hear because the other hospitals don't have that ability. And so I think they're scared if it does happen, we're going to have to shut the whole hospital down because they don't have any way to
Right.
contain.
We actually do have an isolation room in our emergency room. So we could actually, if it were to happen, we could at least take them and not bring them in the hospital. We could take them around and pull them in that back door and in that first room and minimize the exposure everywhere. So hopefully we don't have to practice that.
All right. Any other questions for Bridget? If not, Bridget, thank you. Next, is there anything from the City Council?
Nothing I believe that needs reported.
All right, very good. I have nothing, and there are no items of new business. We are adjourned.